Hello, everyone. Sorry, I was informed that I went private, so let me actually send that out again. It was actually in private, so that's crazy, isn't it? I'm going to see if I can send out this stuff again. 1,000 forgivenesses. And it was actually in private, so that's crazy, isn't it? There you go, hard times and all that. Let me get this, share this. Voila, it looks fantastic. Because we're talking to black men and black women, but we're not inviting them. That's always going to be a problem. As you know, black people tend to be left out of most things, and now I'm participating in that same foolishness. So let me just send this fantastic link out to people. Voila! Give me 79 seconds, and maybe what I should do is while that's live, let me share screen. Yep, to see if we can do a record-breaking speed. Tab. And or maybe yeah, tape record speed, and then where's that fantastic picture we had somewhere? There we go, test JPEG. Let's leave on that. See if that looks. All right. Okay, so that's it. Now what I need to do is send the link out just to make sure everyone gets it. Hold on. How mad, How mad was that? All right, show info. Here it is. Show info. La la. And it. Now live. Copy. It was private. And then. Just give me 1 minute, family. If you're out there, if you're seeing the link, just jump on it now. Okay, it's now live, and I'm just going to send this to everyone. Just because you don't want to exclude people. Let's mount. Almost done. Da-da-da. Yep. And then event. Yep. And one more. Ow. La. All right. Boom. Yes. Right, hopefully that fixes some stuff. I have to do my whole spiel again, which is fantastic. Do I have to now go into my actual Instagram and do all that? Oh, my days. Shouldn't take long. This is the thing. When one thing goes all over the shop, you have to literally go through and do everything. Oh man. Okay, it shouldn't take too long. Click on that. Yep, paste. Click on that. Done. Hopefully that fixes everything. All right, cool. What was that? Record breaking, I would say 4 minutes and 72 seconds, maybe less. Right. Hello everyone. Hopefully, if you are logging in, sorry about that. What's actually happened when you check this recording back is somehow the stream became private, which is only meaning people with the access code can join, which was me. Hey, we have a member. So let me say hey. So that means humans are here, which means I'm not talking to myself, although I do enjoy that. It's not necessary when you're practicing black betterment for a collective forward momentum. So sorry about that. So yeah, you got Coco Brown in the place, and just so you guys know, the topic of today's week, the topic for this week, is how should black men react to the words of frustrated black women in order to uphold black betterment. Now, something I'm going to repeat throughout the day, so when people come in, they don't miss this. But I am particularly focusing on frustrated black women, and not necessarily women with opinion or women with ideas or women with whatever there might be going on. It is the concept of frustrated black women, and not necessarily normal conversations. Hopefully, if we can work on how to communicate when someone becomes frustrated, that will make communicating with people when they have opinions even more easier, because the strategy is you're coming from a much harder place, so you should be able to read things better. One thing I'm gonna try to do, and it requires both the brothers and sisters, is it's a worldwide phenomenon, but it's something I'm noticing the trend, and that is the slight, ever so slight separation in some areas, at least verbally, within the media, of black men and black women, and it's more so a lack of understanding. And I don't feel there's too many platforms out there that's actually trying to have a well, I would say a constructive solution-based conversation, because ultimately, if you have a dialogue where you say black men versus black women, well, that can never make any sense, really. It might be a truth at a time, but in the short run, everyone loses. So, understanding what teamwork is, and we're all in this together, is quite crucial. So, the goal of what I'm trying to achieve throughout these coming weeks, to focus on this topic. Like, there's certain topics that I wouldn't necessarily cover historically, because it does take a lot of preparation and try and make sure everyone's in the right mind frame. But one of them is the dynamics between black men and black women. And that should be something that should be very easy. But unfortunately, for sometimes there does seem to be a misunderstanding. And trying to get a decent back and forth conversation going is very necessary. That's the idea. The idea is, how can we communicate better? How can we understand each other better? And hopefully, how can we show a certain level of control? Now, I am talking directly to the males because I am male. And, one of the hope is that, the women get together and they talk to each other. So at the standpoint of this conversation, we're entering it at the standpoint where we're saying, when a woman becomes frustrated, and this is not opinion, frustrated, at a particular thing that has happened, or hasn't happened, or interpretates happened, whatever it might be, when a black woman is at that point, what is the best way black men should react to that sister? And I'm sure it's going to bring up a whole lot of dialogues. And what I'm going to do as well is, because I've generated this new thing, there should be a lobby link. Here we go, lobby link, invite. Well, yep. So that I suspect that's changed as well, because if the original link changed that thing, so I'm going to throw that in there like that for the lobby. Ta-da! Here it is. So that's been generated, which is excellent. So yeah, so I'm just going to give my intro, and then I'm going to throw the link out there before I do that. One thing my understanding is, throughout the time, you're going to get a lot of frustrated black women and black men, to be honest. And what I say directly to the men is, whenever you can, practice patience and listening, and try not to go, a fight for fire with any kind of rage that might be there. Once again, I'm not saying that all black women are enraged and angry at this point. I'm more focused on those who are, and the situation there. Now, on a lesser extent, what's going to happen is you might have some people who are not actually frustrated. They mainly have a different opinion. They calmly have a different way of viewing things. I'm hoping that the men have a way of recognizing that, and not treating all criticisms as a form of frustrations, because sometimes criticisms are necessary, and unfortunately sometimes some men can't practice discernment when it's doing that, and hopefully we can work as a team to work on that. So what I'm going to do, just to get some dialogue going, I'm posting the lobby in there, and I've apologized for the way the show started, because it started on a private, and I should have realized something was wrong, because normally there are people viewing even when the timer goes down, which is the idea, but there wasn't, and I thought, maybe this no one this week, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be I've made a mistake on making something private. So hopefully people are still, they've got the new link. I've posted a new link, and it's on my Instagram, and it's also in all the forums that people directly contact me on. So hopefully they've got that and they can join. But the area we're at now is trying to find out how best for black men to communicate with frustrated black women. And all welcome to jump in and give their opinion. I would say that if we do get a discussion going this week, or this night tonight, I would try to always remember in the back of our mind that we're trying, the actual discussion is the secondary. The primary is is interactions, finding out how best to communicate to find that solution. So the communication first point is actually more important than the solutions, because I suspect if we don't communicate correctly and the way where people feel they can back and forth, then we might not actually find a solution. And what we actually might end up doing is causing further extenuate the problem, and that's never good. And a fear of mine as well is at some point, maybe some men feel they're not being heard, and at some point, some women feel they're not being heard. And we definitely don't want to have a situation where people are communicating and they don't feel like they're being heard. So let us use these platforms to actually find that solutions. And as the weeks go by, I will be inviting maybe more people with stronger opinions. And we have Sister Betty joining. I was going to add you now. Hi, Sister Betty. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Hi, Nathan. Hi.
Hey, excellent. Let me just start by apologizing. Anyone clicked on a link. So I gave out a link to everyone, and the link was private. So sorry if anyone got that. But Sister Bay messaged me saying, no, that link doesn't work. So that was very helpful. Thank you very much, Sister. This week, and I have to, let's go over it. This week, we're trying to find out how should men communicate with frustrated Black women. Now, that's also going to bleed into opinionated women, as well as, women who are trying to offer, good advice on the rest of it, right? But the reason I start off the frustrated is because I feel that if men can master the frustrated angle, then all the others should fall in line. And that's just the logic I'm dealing with. Now, would you say that in your time of communicating with men, there's been many times you've been frustrated?
Yeah, I think we're all growing and learning, aren't we? It's a learning process, right. The life we live. You make mistakes, and when you know better, you do better, don't you? Right. So there's times when I've allowed people to draw me out, and many men to draw me out, because I'm a strong woman. I'm an alpha female. I say what I feel. Right. And when I come, I'd usually butt heads with these alpha males and stuff like that. But as I've got older and wiser, I've realized that sometimes, silence is golden, and you can just let, a man that's been abusive just show himself up. Sometimes you don't need to say anything, because silence says a lot.
I could be wrong, but one thing I noticed about seeing how you communicate, you're quite full with your ideas, and I think you kind of stand toe to toe with many male debaters and speakers on that same level, in that kind of same culture. But you might be isolated in the sense of, like, there's many women who don't necessarily communicate at that kind of depth, or that kind of like angle, that understanding, and they might be put off with that kind of like in your face front speaker's corner like culture that happens out there. And what I'm trying to do is create avenues where people who don't necessarily want to step up to that kind of way feel they can still communicate. So it is about getting everyone on the same page, knowing that we're going to try to invite new speakers so they can give their opinion, but we don't necessarily want to shoot them down before they've said their piece, but we don't necessarily want to overreact or underreact to what people are saying. So it's just this like learn as we go concept I'm trying to do. But there we go. We've got brother Cal in the room. We're going to add him quickly. How's it going, brother? How's it going? You okay?
Yeah, I've just come out from the snow, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. It's cold out there, man.
It's very cold. It's cold. Well, I'm glad you're here, because your opinion will be quite going at the moment, because this week's topic actually, how should Black men react to the words of frustrated Black women in order to uphold Black betterment? And as the weeks go by, we're going to be inviting more very strongly opinionated women and men on the show. And one thing I'm trying to do before that happens is actually allow a situation where the back and forths can actually happen, right? And it doesn't become about the personalities and the opinions. It becomes more about the information and the facts. And also, we do want to take in consideration that, right? So I don't know if you regularly deal with any frustrated women towards yourself or towards maybe Black men generally, collectively, but how do you feel black men should react to the words of frustrated black women, in your opinion?
Um, Obviously it's easier said than done, but it has to require the patience, isn't it?
Right.
You know, I always try to and it's because the females in my family,
Yeah.
as well as not in my family, is that unfortunately for the black man
Mm-hmm.
and for the black woman, because of the situation that we've been placed in,
Mm.
a lot of black men, indirectly and directly, are very have low self-esteem
Mm.
in regards to I touched upon it yesterday. We can't protect the black woman, man. It's you know that has put us in a very bad situation, and unfortunately, and it's not easy talking about it, to tell you the truth, but we
Mm.
have to be honest, don't we? Because we have to get better. But a lot of it has to do with the racism.
Mm.
And Sister Betty, one of the shows, man, she touched upon it, and I was like, in my mind, I thought, she's telling the truth. Because what we do is, as black men, is that when we see, because of the racism that we face every day,
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody to take that racism, how we feel, upon
Mm.
anybody else. So naturally, our counterpart, the original woman, the black woman, we take
Mm-hmm.
the frustrating out on her, and it's very sad, man. But it's that is the reality. Why black women, they'll, for example, I don't know Sister Betty well,
Right.
um, and I've learned a lot of things from her. Some of the ideas. However, I understand, man, like why she's like that, man, because the black man, has let the black woman down so much. But at the
Mm.
same time, the black woman, she's unfortunately carrying a legacy of black men who's let her down,
Mm.
and it comes out, and that is the clashing. It's like we're dealing with a whole population of black men and women in one individual.
Mm.
And that is what I found out myself consciously, is that she's been let down, so she's taking that frustrating out, and we've been let down,
Mm.
so that's what I found out, man, unfortunately, man, you know yeah.
Right. So after some of the truth you pushed there, you are going to find some women who are frustrated, right? And they
Yeah.
might, get very very heated, and they're going to raise their voice, potentially some of them. What should the black man do when they're confronting a sister who is heavily frustrated this way? Should he match her in frustration? Should he shout back and scream and overpower with rage? Is that something that you reckon might be necessary, or is that something maybe not so much?
No, no, most definitely not, because the feminine energy is very powerful.
Mm.
One of the sisters yesterday was talking about, oh no, sorry, last week, or was it the week before, was talking about the black woman has a lot of spiritual powers, and she's absolutely right. It's very powerful.
Mm.
But at the same time, it works better when it's entwined with the masculine energy.
Mm.
The black man should never like react in a heated way.
Mm.
But what he needs to do, and I know this is easier said than done, what he needs to do is use wisdom, which
Mm.
means putting things in its place. Um, you know, Perhaps just kind of meditate. Perhaps if the black man does this, I try and do this. Not necessarily on the black woman, but I feel angry. Put
Mm.
my thumbs together and breathe.
Mm.
You know, Nobody needs to see, but just kind of breathe, because sometimes life is a bit very stressful.
Mm.
And you'll find out, man, that you'll direct all the energies out of your body and channel it in the correct way.
Mm.
And then if it still doesn't work, then perhaps it'd be better to just kind of perhaps go for a walk, or sit down, or perhaps leave the room for a bit, just so you
Mm.
can get back your focus. Yeah.
Do you feel that, like, with some men, it could be a status thing? Like, not all, but some, in the sense of you might have some men. Obviously, men vary in what they do and can do, but you might have some men who are more dependent upon their woman or women. So when it comes to a power dynamic, you might realize that many women, when they shout at men, they are not knowing that they might be to some dynamic and authority because they hold much power over that man. It might be maybe he lives in her flat or some other scenario, whatever it is, and she has the power to say, "Get out." You see what I'm saying? So could that dynamic be playing in any kind of contributing factor? Because I've seen that's not all the videos I'm going to put on the show, but I saw one recently. This obviously is in America, but you can analyze it. And it was of a man who he was arguing with I assume it was a girlfriend and such, but it got to the point where he reached for a knife, and I don't think he was reaching for it almost like theatrics. It wasn't like saying it was well, I can't argue reach a knife is medicine, right? But it was almost like I don't know, it was odd, and then it was just uncalled for. And more screaming and shouting, all the rest of it. And she didn't really take it serious. She wasn't really, and then he tried to take it to the next level. We got a new joiner here, everyone. Tashika. Am I saying that right, Tashika?
It's Tashika, but you can call me Tashika.
No, it's Tashika. If Tashika's your name, that's your name, Tashika. Tashika. Welcome, sister. So,
hi.
Welcome. Is this your first time?
Yeah, on not on streams, but on your one.
Of course, I'm sure you're well versed in speaking on streams. What it is so basically what it is a week to week it's a Black Betterment Broadcast, so we try to find solutions for Black people. And one thing we're going to dedicate time to now is the dynamic between Black men and Black women. Unfortunately, many people have reported that in some areas there is miscommunication, and hopefully we can get the commission going. But speak. So what you're going to say. Go ahead.
I was listening to last week's one, and I felt like there was like some underlying issues with the gentleman that was talking, because the way he came across here, he didn't need to be so, what's it called? Take it so personal, because it's someone's opinion and someone's what they've been going through. It doesn't necessarily mean that it pertains to him. So I felt like that's how it is in the everyday world for like most Black women. When you tell them like what goes on with them, it gets dismissed. So a lot of Black women, even though they think that like we're strong and we can do everything, we just can't take it no more. So we do our own thing. We can't be bothered to be asking them for anything or saying this or saying that, because then we get barked at. Because my opinion is that sometimes I feel like with a Black man, they take things out on us because they can't do it to the white man. Because at the end of the day, they know that that's where their money comes from, if you know what I mean. So yeah, so they come home, they're frustrated and because like my partner one time, he was arguing with me, and I said to him, I don't know who you're arguing at. You need to do that at your workplace. But oh yeah, I forgot you couldn't. So we were arguing. So, the one thing that I think that Black women need in general, like a lot of, is their dad around. So I just put my dad and told my dad to call him and put him on the phone, because like it's better if a man talks to a man, if you know what I mean. Because sometimes a woman can't how do you say it? Articulate themselves to another man, because sometimes it comes with like, who are you talking to? So they get even more aggressive and start arguing and stuff. And that's what I felt like when I was listening to the show last week. He took it so personal. He could have said, you know what, this is not how I represent Black men, and I don't know any men that represent how you're speaking, but the ones that do are letting us down. That's how he could have come across. But he's like, da, 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 and he took it so personal. And it's like, oh my God, that's why we don't tell Black men our struggles, and we just go on like we're strong and independent. That's why a lot of Black women, they have lots of health problems, because they struggle and they keep a lot of things in. Yeah, a lot of us, we have a lot of health problems and stuff, and I don't think they realize, like Betty was saying, childbirth. We don't go get pregnant sick, it's the things we have to do while we're pregnant, because the man can't do it, because the man has to work, the man can't take time off. And a lot of times, the men, they're working 0 hours. So they can't go to their white boss and say, you know what, can I take time off? They will say no and get someone else. Even how hardworking they are, they'd rather get someone else just to spite them. So they have to work.
Wow. Yeah, well, and a lot of truth there, sister. And what I would say is the brother isn't here, and hopefully if he was to come in, he's more than welcome to express himself. And this is all interpretations about what people might be and might not be going through. And sometimes things go far left, far right, and misunderstandings. One thing I would say is one of the goals I'm trying to do, if possible, is actually get in a situation where you feel like you can talk to a man, where you know that no matter how far left or right you go, the man is going to try to give you some understanding and try to create a situation where you feel comfortable to speak. And I think just through history and just understanding, there should be no reason why a man feels intimidated by a woman. It doesn't actually make sense. Now,
well, when I was speaking to my partner, he was saying sometimes it comes across, because I'm very like with my children and everyone around and like the outside world, I'm very like demanding and very, what's that word? You know, when you're very like there's kind of sometimes there's no emotion, you're just talking and you're very straightforward. So he was saying to me, sometimes when I'm talking to him and I'm asking something or telling him something, it feels like I'm telling him off.
Right.
So I'm trying to be more kind of babyish towards him. Sometimes it's hard because like I know how he's, but I don't want to get his back up, because once you get his back up, then it's argument. Because I think sometimes with a black man, they just want to feel like a baby in the house, because outside to them it's like they don't want to they have to get pulled over if they drive in a certain way or even look in a certain way, their job, all of these things, their stereotypes that come across coming out of the house. So they just want to let their hair down and feel like a baby, which I kind of understand. Right. If you know what I mean.
Can I just say about Can I just say about last week? I was really upset because what that brother did was really disrespectful. You know, I made a comment about what collectively what I felt in black men, and I meant it. You know, the comment was not made to him. I didn't say, Darren, so and so and so. Then he decided to make a personal attack on me. So what I did, because he continued, when I told him that I didn't want to discuss it, you know, etc., etc., he didn't get the hint. So I had to turn down the volume because he was upsetting me. Now, the very fact that he had to make a personal attack on me, he's lost the argument straight away. If you have to make a personal attack on someone, you've lost the debate straight away. Yeah.
But you know what it is, Betty? I noticed,
One moment, Tashika. And if you're a man the fuck up in it. If you can dish it out like a man, take it like a man. Because I'm not his woman.
Yeah.
And I'm not
but
his
you know what it is? You know what it is? Sometimes black men feel comfortable doing it.
One moment. My own father never spoke to me in the manner that Darren spoke to me. So if my own father and my own partner did not speak to me in that manner, why the hell should I take it from Darren? He don't pay my bills. He's not my man. He's not my brother. He's not my sister. Why should I take abuse from a man that is doing nothing for me when my own father didn't even talk to me in that manner?
Very good point, sister. I need to pause you for 4 seconds. We're going to add a sister Kushti to the stream. But also, if we could just remember, sometimes we might have kids watching, maybe not, but if just so we could try to keep the language, not late night language if possible, even though it is late night at the moment. All right, so just to jump in for everyone, welcome, sister Kushti, just to be respectful. How's it going?
Blessings, family. Blessing everybody on the
right. Now, before you speak, sister, because everyone's going to speak, the goal of today is if we can be the starting stream in trying to allow both men and women to have their opinions pushed forward so we can find strategies and ways to communicate together. Because one of the challenges currently, not everywhere, but in certain places, is maybe some women might feel like they're not being heard, and maybe some men feel like they're not being heard. And you think, it's going, and then obviously some people are offended. Sister Bay has expressed that she felt that maybe last week, some things were a bit harsh towards her, and hopefully we can work on that and work on ways to communicate to minimize that, because that doesn't really help anyone. Just so you know.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt Sister Betty because I know that she was talking and you two were having a back and forth. But what I will say that last week was a real big case study of what the problem was. I genuinely felt kind of half guilty because the whole base of that discussion was to hear from a woman's point of view. And I was so geared up to jump on and to say my point of view. But as soon as I did see the response from that brother, which all the sisters have highlighted on here, including myself, when I was in the comments, it was just off-putting. It was, I don't think it was the standard of what, probably the reason why you're saying about how men should actually react. I don't find in the beginning when we was discussing this that Betty was actually would be classed as a frustrated woman. At no point did she say it was all black men. And I think that once someone comes in there with that kind of tone, you're going to trigger and start gaslighting. And then once a woman reacts the same way, because I did notice that he got told that he was passionate and Betty got told that she was emotional. I noticed those two words that got mentioned. And I feel like once inevitably she's going to have to decide to stand up for herself, now we go into the realm of angry black women. And once we get in the realm of angry black women, we don't look right. That's not the message we want to push out. And there's a whole bunch of connotations that comes with it.
Yes.
So instead of me going on and getting frustrated and again feeling like I wanted to defend myself and then coming over as an angry black woman, what happened was the question that you said, is this what we fear? Where women do not want to come on because you can, as women, we look at what's happening, we look at the overview of how it looks, we look at the projection of how it's going to come out. And I just thought this ain't going to be fruitful with this guy because she'd say one thing, he'd hear another. She'd say something about, you know, I mean, a prime example is when the example of battered women and, you know, in the end, this battered woman, for example, had nowhere to go to, so she goes to a shelter. Oh, you're running to the white man. It's the white man's problem. You should be doing it. And it's just like, are you, like, you know, like you skipped, you've not even looked into it. You've not looked at the steps of why that is problematic. Why did we not have maybe somewhere to go to which was run by black men, some sort of security service or something like that, or a charity that, or more, and until Sister Betty highlighted the black charity, again, he pushed back on the black charity saying that it was a white-owned charity. Everything about that was just combative. Bearing in mind
very defensive, isn't it?
Sorry, sis?
Very defensive he was.
Exactly. And the amount of times in the comments, I was like, only hit dogs holler. If it doesn't apply to you, why do you have so much energy? Why, if I want to do something fruitful or I'm going to engage in a discussion which feels like it's about moving forward together, am I going to want to deal with something so low energy or another stereotype?
Exactly. And for what I said last week, that was actually quite tame for me. I held that down last week because I could have done that little machine gun Betty. That's why I kept on saying that I ain't got nothing to say. I don't want to torture you.
And I want to say I noticed that, Betty, as well. Yeah. And to be honest with you, you did better than what I would have done around that time. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, you did really well for how he just kept on going.
He was just gaslighting.
You do at the same time as well, as black women, historically, we've not been what's the word? Like, you can't just roll over us anyways. We're not doormats. Historically.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And also another thing for me is the age that I am, I'm too old to argue with man. If you ain't my cousin, if you ain't my man, you ain't my dad, you ain't my grandpa. I'm too old to be online arguing a photo avatar. Like somehow that when I switch off the laptop, you're still in my life. Do you know what I mean? There comes a level of maturity that he couldn't understand, and he kept interrupting. And the show was about women. The very fact that if you want somebody to listen to you have to listen to them. If I clearly stated I did not want to speak to him, and he kept asking me the same question. And it's just like there's a level of respect that he has to have. You cannot force a woman to talk to you if you've come on and insulted her. Because I'm trying to cut the thing dead. That's why I wouldn't answer his questions. Because I didn't want to turn Raven's show into a shit show. Because Raven wants constructive talk. He doesn't want car crash TV. But to me, that brother came across like he didn't come for a debate. He came here to come and prove his manhood to me.
Yeah.
Not that I care. Because I have a man.
Of course. Now, let me just jump in this for 14 seconds. What I would say is I would truly believe that what we are dealing with here is communication differences and also misunderstandings, because I generally believe that brother wants to do good, and I generally believe you women want to do good and you want betterment in the community. So the reason why these shows are necessary is because these confusions happen. And this is what I was trying to draw earlier about communication differences. Like some men, in some circles, not all, but some men, that's in general how they communicate, and they might communicate with amongst men that way. And amongst men, maybe that's fine, because with men, they have the whole football braggadocious kind of way of speaking, and you know, but I think that doesn't, and that's what you see a lot to an extent in the kind of speaker corner community and stuff, whatever. But that doesn't necessarily work when you're having like cross-sex talking, like, you know, when you have people of different sexes and different, you know, experiences and past come together, because it doesn't really work. And I've never seen it work well. And what I'm trying to do is get across to some of the brothers and saying that, is there a time where we just don't really, you know, bring that kind of dynamic out? And I feel that when it comes to black men talking to black women, it very rarely works well. And I also feel there's two things there. If women feel either unbothered or intimidated to speak, this is a problem. But now on the flip side, if men then become that way, this is an issue. Like, and that's why I'm saying, who, with the domino effect, who do we put the onus on? And I'm going to say, because in confrontation, men always have the upper hand by being physical, in the sense of the physical stature of men. It's men's responsibility to make sure they never become confrontational. That's the science I'm dealing with. You see? Go ahead.
But can you imagine that, like, if every black man, instead of being confrontational with black women, they're outside the world fighting for us? Can you imagine how big and powerful they would be? It's like every time you say to a black man your opinion, they get very emotional and frustrated, and they sound like they're gonna. From when he was talking to Betty, it sounded like if Betty was in front of him, he would have, like, not saying he's like that, like something physical or something. He was very, very, you could see he was very emotional. And sometimes I wish that black men would just think more logical than more emotional, and it'd be more better outside, like in the world, if you know what I mean. They're very, very emotional, which drives me bonkers.
Let me just jump in before you can, because you said something that's very important, and what that is, it's the perception of a woman looking at a man. And what I mean by this is, this guy, for all we know, great brother, he might never harm a fly, right? But the interpretation of the words and the demeanor he pushed forward to a woman is, this guy might, I'm not saying he will, he might get physical. And that's the reality I'm trying to spread to the man, that even though you got used to this way of communicating with other men or whatever it might be, it doesn't work with women, because they are all interpreting it this way. And this is not a good way. And if all you need to do is not do that to allow them to have their opinions or how they feel they can have their opinions, then that might be a better solution rather than that strategy. But once again, this is a conversation that men have to have. And as time goes by, I'm going to invite men in. We're going to have, you know, split panels. And we're going to really try to break down, because I do feel that when you have people like us, who generally confess we want to help black men, black women, black families, but yet there's some breakdown, I do feel that it's a communication difference that we're dealing with. And it's about trying to work on that communication difference. And sometimes discipline is necessary.
But also, can I say as well, in terms of what he said, he made personal, he was insulting me, then he started insulting my partner. Now, the fact of the matter is, why are you going to call on a man you don't know, you've never met? You don't know my man. So I'm taking that as a declaration of war. You want war. Because why you want to call on my man? You don't know anything about my man. Unless you packing some, you packing some steel. So man is making a declaration of war. Now, if you come with a war of words with someone like me, I'll come back with it. But that was toned down, and that's what I'm saying. This is what I would say to this brother. Yeah, talk is cheap. Don't call on people that you don't know. I'm not a man, and you don't know my man, and you don't want to know my man unless you want some type of confrontation that can get physical. But I never called on your woman and threw any insults your woman's way or your mother's way. But to me, a man of peace and a man that wants to do dialogue doesn't start insulting a woman and then start insulting her man. I found him immature. He moved like a female.
Right.
Because you're over and emotional.
Right.
Where's the logic?
I hear that, Sister May. Now, the idea, we can use this situation as a case study, and we can say that if we use Sister May as a template, we understand that whatever happened last week, this is the reaction. Now, I would like to think that no one in this forum would ever want any kind of action or harm to happen to any black person, because we're all, a betterment seeking. So obviously, when the misinterpretation happens, we have to get to the root of, we all come from a past where we think a certain way. We're trying to get past that. And how can we, in the current, change our ways to have a better future? So what I would say is if we use this as a case study, we can learn from what was said and what was not said and try to work around that. And I think you're very correct in the sense of when we are communicating here, it is always best not to bring up other connections between mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, and lovers and these kinds of stuff, because the topic is forgotten and the personal back and forth. And I always try to say, if possible, let's talk about the collective and ideas and templates and lifestyles. Because when you talk about the individual, then it becomes back and forth and the topic is forgotten. So hopefully this is a learning for men. But many of you sisters are saying that when you're talking to some men, you are getting this kind of concept where a man might actually feel powerless. And I think, this works both ways in the sense of, I think what the sister also might have said that sometimes she finds that when she communicates, there is a stone harshness, or a stone harshness, and maybe that might contribute, and that's something we can unpack. We have a new member, a Bigger Vel. I don't know if this is the same. I'm gonna welcome Bigger Vel. Hi, Bigger Vel. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Just tuning in and listening to what you're saying, and I can agree on a lot of the points you've all been saying.
Right.
However, greetings to you all, and I hope you're all well.
Excellent. So on this panel at the moment, we have 3 males and three females, I believe. 1, 2, unless someone's gone. Has someone gone? I think. Oh, someone might have dropped out. All right, but we've had that at some time. So, brother, you're joined now. The topic is, how should black men react to the words of frustrated black women in order to uphold black betterment? Do you have any kind of opinions on this kind of topic, or anything that you like to bring? Oh, we have Anna again. There we go. Now we have 3 for 3. So now officially we have 3 males and 3 females. I'm obviously the host, but I'm male, so I can probably chime in there. But let us try to have a dialogue go. Don't hold back in the sense of what you want to say, but I would say try to use the 4 Ds. Discipline, discernment, dedication, and the rest of it to try to achieve a good understanding, because we want to teach the stream world and the world that we're about betterment, and we actually want to fix the potential challenges between black men and black women. So, brother, you've just moved in, Mr. C. Biggerville. Is there anything you would like to add to the conversation that could get things started? Go ahead.
Yeah, I could totally agree that, yes, as men, we do need to listen to our counterparts. It's very important that we do have an understanding of where they are coming from. Hello?
Oh, that might be a mistake. Carry on.
Yeah. I can say that certainly do have an understanding of where she's coming from, but as well as an understanding of a woman's frustration. And it's for us to listen, really listen to them, because they're already dealing with so much. As a people, we are already dealing with the world, you know, that's already against us. And it's not for us now to turn on each other, you know, because we need each other, you know, through the fight that we are going through. We need each other more than we think, you know, but we need to really understand how to communicate with each other, where they can understand where a man is coming from and we can understand where a woman is coming from. Now, of course, like I said, we have everything going against us already, but we're as well as going on the path together, we're also on our individual journeys as well, because our days are different. You know, we're going as men, you know, as women, you know, we're doing different things. A man will go out to make the money, but as well as a woman's holding down the household, you know, and as well as even more so harder when you have a working woman as well, who's also holding on the household. So we have to understand what they are dealing with, and this, like I said, just for us to communicate with each other. That's how I'm just going to introduce it for now. I do have more to say, but I'll let everyone talk.
Can I just say one thing about last week? I was going to leave because I was quite upset with what he said, and it was really disrespectful. But the fact of the matter is, I don't believe that he would have the same energy if I was a man. And what I find is, in the last couple of years I've been online, and the black men that I've had confrontation with, is bare man that will talk wicked to a woman, yeah? But they don't have that same energy for a man. And that's a coward. Especially when you're hiding behind a cartoon avatar, you've got a blank screen and all you've got is your name. It's easy to talk wicked behind computers. But in real life, are you going to have the same energy?
Well, Sister Bear, one thing I would say is the hope is that no one talks wicked to anyone. And, you know...
But he did, Raven. And another thing is, with all due respect to Kale, this idea that all women would take that disrespect in real life, some women will get a brick and brick you on.
Well,
the way I'm hearing Kale speak, and some men I'm going to respectfully disagree with, they are women that would not put up with that disrespect.
Yes, but the idea
that women can't handle themselves and the only violent person in the world is a man, that's not true.
Right.
What I would say to that brother, one moment, Raven, is I would say to that, Darren, be very careful how you talk to women, because not all women would put up with your nonsense.
Well, let us try to find a way, because I truly do believe that the brother Darren there is a constructive brother, and he wasn't trying to cause any kind of confusion. And what I'm saying is, we do see patterns there every time certain men and certain women come together and certain opinions come out. And let us work, because let us do each other a favor and assume that everyone is trying to be constructive. And let's try to find paths of how to best to communicate. And I think we can do that. But you know, Brother Darren is here, Sister Bay. I said, let me put this way. Okay, ritual. Okay, there you go. So what I would say is, one thing we won't have in the show is, like, you know, the kind of like wrestling kind of you know, vibes and stuff. We do want to people to have a disagreement, to actually communicate about the disagreement and find out, you know, how can we improve? Because if we can't communicate, then we're going to either remain where we are, which isn't a great place, or even fall further back. So there has to be a willingness to communicate. Now, I am biased in the sense that I am putting that onus on men. That's what I'm doing. So because I'm biased. Because I'm a man.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
I wanted to ask you something, especially the men on the panel. Why is it when a black woman has an opinion, they're very strong-minded, very strong-willed, and know what they want? Like Betty would talk, Betty knows what she's talking about, and certain black women. And why do black men like to label women mad? That's the first thing they will say. They got mental illness, like using the same rhetoric that like a white person would use on a black person. That's the first thing that come out with to shut the woman up and tell everyone she's mad so that she's not listened to, which is sometimes could be like very dangerous if you keep going around and stereotyping women as like mad black women. Like,
But
I
you
just
see,
want to know why
sister,
they do it.
yeah, sister, is it Tashika, right? That's a good thing that you brought up there because you mentioned something very valuable, as though we are white men. This is the problem, sister, is that, as I said, I always have to use the blueprint for the science of the black man and the black woman, and it's Garveyism. Now, there's controversial people may disagree with it, but we have to ask ourselves this question. If you're messed up and not getting anywhere, don't you need an instruction manual in order for you to find your way? And the problem is that the black man has a European man inside of him that keeps trying to bounce out. And the black woman has a European woman inside of her trying to bounce out. And the problem is that with African consciousness, European cannot live inside of you. Because as I said many times before, historically, is that the black man and the black woman are the only humans that believed in justice and equality amongst each other. There's no other human beings on the planet that ever believed in that. So we all have that European man in us as a black man, and the black woman has a European woman inside, and it comes out. So that's why the Honorable Marcus Garvey, and it's a shame because many people before us have reminded us that there is a manuscript, Pan-Africanism, that will eradicate all this. If you look at the Nation of Islam, and many people don't agree with their ideology, but if you look at the Nation of Islam, is that everything that they do, it's race first. Do you understand? They don't leave no form of gaps or any form of anything for them to enter for you to lose your way. If you look at the Hebrew Israelites, and although it's a different ideology, everything is race first. If you look at the black people, us as a whole, there's no foundation that we have. We have a European inside of us. And when we argue, this is how the Europeans used to behave. When we have intimacy, this is how the Europeans behave. When that gets killed and the science of the black man and the black woman is perfected, that's when you're going to see the change. But until then, and that we're going to be the same because the European is in us all the time. Even if you're with a black person or a black woman or black man, it comes out.
Yeah.
Another thing was in terms of generalizations. Can I say that I don't agree with the generalizations in terms of black men and black women having problems. There are certain black men that have problems debating and talking too.
Yes.
Usually the abusive ones.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's not all black men.
No.
And another thing is all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Right. Well, yeah.
I'd like to say something after all the brothers had replied to the sister's question, if that's okay.
Of course, of course. Well, you can jump in now because I think, I mean, I'll just say into what Sister Betty says. This is correct. Like, you know, not every woman, not every man behaves a certain way, and it's never great to generalize. But what we are doing is we're recognizing patterns. And if many women are feeling intimidated to speak out, then we have to recognize that pattern. You see? And if similar stories are working, we have to recognize patterns, find solutions for those particular incidents. Go ahead, anyone else?
But Brother Raven, if that's what you said is true, right? We cannot generalize. Then can you explain to me, why have we not built anything? Why have we not understood psychologically the situation that we're in? And why have we not get anywhere if we cannot generalize everyone? Because the way I see it, my brother, is that whether you are an upper class, African, middle class, lower class, we still seem to have the same individualism mindset of approaching. Remember this, brother, and I know you know this well, and everyone on the panel knows it. We can go back, brother, and read the books, and it will tell us whether you are in the Benin, South Africa, East Africa, that's not the science of the black man and the black woman to behave that way. That's the science of the European. These are well documented. So should I ignore the references, my brother, and say to myself, well, you know what? I shouldn't generalize. Or should I accept it and say, you know what? Whether you're a rich, poor black person, the European mindset has to go. I believe it's all of us, because we ain't got nothing. All we do, we argue, put each other down, and rely on the system. When Garveyism is a way to keep you away from the system, you can live in an environment, and still practice betterment without entwining with other systems. But it seems like we're attracted to the non-African environments, man. And perhaps if you can explain that to me, brother.
Let me see if I can. So I think what I'm trying to push forward is, amongst many people, there are individuals and small pockets of people who are very different and unique in their mannerisms and how they express things and how they do things. But unfortunately, when it comes to like looking at a collective data metric, when you look at the as a collective, their small efforts and their universal efforts here and there don't actually tilt the overall arcing truth of what we see when it comes to actually data. So we can say that not everyone in the society is one way, but we can say enough of them are a certain way where it's become a problem. And because it's become a problem, we then have to treat everyone the same to find that kind of solution. Does that make sense? Because I think sometimes what happens is you might have a person stand up and go, all black men are unemployed and they make no money. Just say a person says that, right? And maybe in certain cities there is a high amount, but not everyone's unemployed. So the person who's not unemployed says, well, I'm working, and then it becomes an argument where really we're not focused on the individual small pockets of greatness that we have. We're talking about as a great number, there isn't that many people in a particular area that's doing a particular thing. So we have to address that. And we are saying that because they are black or identify as black, that might be a contributing factor towards the woes and the challenges they go through. So that's how we look at it. But I understand both arguments where some people say don't generalize and some say you must generalize. But I think it's, when you have enough of a challenge for it to become very visible, then we have to tackle it as a collective issue. And that means we all have to feel is everyone's going to be the same thing. So just to further expand that concept, not every black person is poor. There's considerable amount of rich black people, right? So you might have some people talk about black people being poor when that's not the case. There's tons of rich people. However, in certain situations, certain scenarios, people might treat you like you're poor. So that's why we had like Oprah Winfrey is one of the richest women in the world, I think. When she walks into a shop and she isn't identified as Oprah Winfrey or as a rich person from the media, they kick her out. They treat her the same. So these are the kind of the things we're dealing with and having these kind of like scenarios to find solutions for. But I think the sister did want to say something, and I don't want to forget when people ask. So who was the sister? Who I heard a female voice. Who was that?
It was me, Cushy.
Oh, Cushy, go ahead, sister. You have the floor.
Yeah, I want to touch on a few points. I think what Cal said historically again, which I think we should really try to get to what we are innately are, is that, for example, when I went to Egypt, you couldn't find one statue of or a display with just a man on his own. He was equally with a woman. And, it's not just the one side that we get shown. I was like blown away with the thousands and thousands of small little blocks or to huge, as big as high rises, where the man equally stood with his queen. So this notion of not being able to do it is it's a new concept. It is a Western concept, and we know that. If you look at their Western history, they've never treated their women great. If you look at Greece, they idolize men with little boys. Women have, do you know what I mean? So it's a total different concept, and I think as men need to go back to that and realize that. And there is not weakness in respecting your women. In fact, I think what we was talking about before that last one, where I did come on talking about the openness of dissing their own women, is the problem. I feel like if the black man had a reputation of not having a bar of it when you disrespect a black woman, I don't think you'd see it, period. Just like the black man has a reputation of being strong, masculine, and everything else, which can have negative connotations, they had a reputation of, look, they don't diss their black women, they don't have it. I think that we'd see that go down a lot. I think men would be openly being able to check their brothers a lot more easier. As what Sister Betty says, you don't really get to see a lot of brothers checking their own brothers when they disrespect black women. But I do see things where white women are kind of this whole thing about not being able to communicate with black women. I think that's interesting because sometimes when you see a black man and they're speaking to a white woman, their tone goes lower, they're a bit more patient, they might have a little bit of a Cockney slang to make you feel a bit more comfortable, and they just adapt them whole selves. So if they can shift their mindset when they're talking to a white woman to do that, there is a problem that when you're talking to a black woman, you cannot see the difference between when they're talking to their own brothers.
Yes.
For example, last week, when Cal, which I want to big up Cal for as well last week, when he was trying to interject and he was communicating with the other brother, the energy didn't shift. The energy didn't shift. If you listen to the tone of how he was speaking to Betty and speaking to Cal, it was borderline the same, if not worse with Betty, because as we know, private things were mentioned. It got personal. I didn't hear any of that towards Cal. So these are things that we can see. Even if we can't verbalize it, we can see. And do you know what makes it worse? Other races see. And if you can do that to your own, then why can't I dish you? And that's why we see multiple other men dissing their own women. Our women, us.
Right. Well, so we go ahead.
No, that's it.
Well, no, that was good speech. And I was going to say, we don't want to fall for patterns here. And I do say that one thing about this particular show, and me personally, and what I'm trying to do is I am trying to, highlight that hypocrisy or that lack of knowledge that might happen. I'm not saying that happened last week in regards to like non-black women and stuff because they weren't there. But what I would say is, if you are seeing black men going out of their way to undermine black women in order to pull down black women, to pull up other non-black women, this is a learned behavior that needs to be unlearned. Now, what I would say is, brother Darren is in the forum and he's welcome to join, but we are packed. Now, I'm not asking anyone to leave. I'm going to ask, would you like to join? Would you like to join? But you can hear me. And if he does, we can make it. But if we do, this is something that we have to have, future knowledge on, in the sense of there is a misunderstanding that is happening in the forum, right? And people are offended to the point where we are no longer talking of black betterment. We are finding ways to undermine each other's existence. So in this show, I would like us, for black people's sake, to find solutions. And even if that solution is we don't speak, at least we're trying to, if we're saying if we cannot communicate without arguing, then for a time being we cannot communicate, because there is no value in black men and women arguing to the point where they are literally not happy, right? So it is up to us to find solutions. Like, we can communicate and express ourselves without it going to a certain level, and we can disagree. Like, everyone here can have an opinion about what they think the solution is, and we can disagree. I agree with everything you said. If I disagree with what Sister Kushi said, even though I strongly agree with it, I could say, well, I disagree with that for these reasons. And I feel that if this happens, this might happen. And then she can come back and say, well, no, how do you feel about this? We don't need to then take to the next level and go, well, I'm sure your trainers are very big. That's probably why you have such a big opinion, or what it might be, right? Trying to say my name needs to be sorted out. I'm going to have to, okay. Oh, I didn't know we could have more than that many people on the thing. Let me see if I can. Now, guys, I'm going to add Brother Darren. Now, we don't tend to have outbreaks, but if we do, I might have to mute people. I'm just letting you know if you want to go, where's my, because we do need some order. Not that we're going to go there. Now, I'm going to see if I can add him. I might not be able to because I was told 6 is the maximum, so let me check. Yep. So just seeing, is there anyone who's willing to step off just for the time being to go off just while we add him? Anyone?
Yeah, I'll step and then.
Okay. Oh, okay. You want?
Okay.
I was gonna. Oh,
yeah. No, you say that, Carl, because you were here last week, so it's necessary. All right, brother. Okay, we're going to add. Remember, we're trying to be constructive, and we're using this as a session. Brother Darren, you've been entered live. I understand you've been listening, and we're going to give you the platform to speak. But remember, the goal is to find a way where we can articulate ourselves in a way where we minimize any kind of anxiety and confusion, if possible, and that works both ways. So that's the goal, because black men and black women on the same page is a great solution. So, Brother Darren, you're welcome. How's it going? How you feeling? Express yourself. We're here to listen.
Greetings, family.
Greetings.
Let me clarify a few things because I think it's very unfair when I have certain people saying X and Y about someone and they're not there to defend themselves and clarify matters. Now, I believe this all started when Betty was talking about the issue with regards to domestic violence with black women and how black men are basically not defending black women globally. Now, I made the comment that I believe Betty was taking it from a very personal standpoint in respect of she herself may have suffered from domestic violence. Betty took a front for that. What ensued from there was a conversation where we were butting in, butting out, butting in, butting out, and it didn't get any better. Now, what we need to realize is the energy what I was receiving, I was giving back. I was doing my best to give facts with what I was giving, rather than personal attacks, as two people are saying, both Betty and Kushti are saying I was doing all night, which is very untrue. Please listen to the recording again. There was at times when I wanted to, because there were certain things Sister Betty was saying which was very underhand, but out of respect of the host, I held my own. I kept quiet. I even got to this case where we asked, well, you've asked that black women should work together, black men should support you. What else do you need? What do you need us to do? Because as I noted last week, as I said many a times, when Sister Betty was talking, I felt she was talking with a very, very large brushstroke, painting all black men as not doing what they should be doing. And unfortunately, I've got to say that is so untrue. So untrue. The black men I work with, the black men I deal with, what you sisters are talking about last week and this week, I don't see that. I don't experience that. The black women I work with, the black women I run with, they never talk of what you ladies are talking about both last week and this week. So I don't know whether it's a case I'm just one extremely lucky brother, or I'm working with the real ones who know how to work together and really get things done. Because at the end of the day, it's for the betterment of we, the people. It's not about bigging up one's chest. We ain't got time for that. We're 500 years behind and then some. We really don't have time for it. So I put it back to the panel. Ladies, what is it you want us black men to do without getting into an argument? Let's come up with a solution. What is it you need us to do? What is both reasonable and plausible? Thank you, Brother Raven.
Right. I'm gonna say what I need to say. I'm gonna try and be as concise and thorough as possible, Darren. The manner that you spoke to me last week, my own father did not speak to me in that manner. My partner did not speak to me in that manner. You came on and you said, Sister Betty, I've got a problem with what Sister Betty said. My name came out of your mouth straight away. So all that other talk that you said was a pack of lies. Then you insulted me. Then you started to insult my partner, saying your partner. Then you started to say, I don't know what man did this to you and how they treated. What you said was a declaration of war. What are the comments that I made about black men? I stand by it. I don't have to. And then you were telling me that I need to watch my mouth to see how I spoke. I don't need to watch my mouth because there's no black man that put me on this planet. I spent 9 months in my mother's womb, not my father's body. Maybe you don't know that there's no man that got on this planet without coming through a woman. You're a coward and you're an abusive man. Because you were lost an argument or a debate, you made it personal. Even though what I said to you said about black men was not directed at you. It was a collective thing. Then you twist and gaslight. When you start calling on a woman's man, it's a declaration of war, because you have no argument with my partner. You have no argument with my father, my brother. The problem that you had was with me, but you wanted to call on another man because you want to fight. A man doesn't call on another man for peace when he's having a disagreement with a woman. But you're too much of a coward to admit it. What you said really upset me, so I had to turn it down. Why? You asked me why I didn't reply to you. Because what you said was a load of pack of lies and gaslighting. You act like a baby. When you don't win the debate, you throw your dolly out the pram. You made a general comment about black men, personal to you. Then you said, I said all black men, when I never said that. You're a liar, Darren. And you're clearly you're like one of these people that maybe you were raised by a woman. Maybe your father wasn't around. That's why you want to start acting like a female. Yeah? And I noticed that you like to throw insults my way, but you can't take the insult. You didn't mind insulting my partner, did you? You didn't mind insulting the men in my life. And when it's comes your way, you can't deal with it. If you can give it out like a man, take it like a man. But I tell you what, Darren, you will not be getting any time from me again. Yeah? I will not even stand on a panel with you. You're an abusive man and you're a disgrace.
Right, Sister Betty, I don't know what you think I said about your so-called man. I clearly told you what I said about you personally. So as to why you took affront for me talking about your father, your man, and God knows anybody else, that you are very unfactual. And furthermore, there were so many occasions I asked you to clarify, are you talking about black men as a collective, as you said on many a times, and then you was going back and forth between talking globally and some black men. You started talking collectively and then some black men. I kept asking you to clarify. You failed to clarify. You thought I was playing games when all I was asking for you to clarify to both me and the listeners.
You know what the problem is, yeah? Is the problem when it comes to black women and speaking their opinion, I know it's black men don't feel the pain. They just hear the words, but they don't feel the words. So the problem is with you, Darren, is that you should just say, like, as a man, even if she's in the right or the wrong, you know what, I hear you. I don't really know anyone that's going through the certain situations that you're talking about. But at the same time, I'm going to research and come back to you, But you're on the defensive. You want to be right and you're going at her. And that's not how black women want to dialogue with black men. That black men are supposed to be gentle, caressing with their words, not on the defensive. She's not your student. She's not there to learn. She's there to tell you what she goes through and her pain. And you're supposed to feel the words, not just listen to it and say, you know what, like, no, I'm not having it. She's not a child. She's a grown woman. She's your black woman. Like she said, is that without black women, there's no black man. And without black man, there's no black woman. We're supposed to stand side by side. And she's telling you something, you're supposed to listen and say, here, I'm the bigger person. But I feel that a lot of the times, black women have to be the bigger person when it's supposed to be black men that's supposed to be standing by us and helping us, not telling us off. We don't need a telling off right now. We need you to support us and say, you know what, please don't talk to me in that way, but I understand. Like, you're just going on and on and on and on. Black women don't need that. A lot of, like, the way that black men are going on is like they're not seeing the bigger picture with our children. They're miseducating our children. They're not learning to the point that when they finish secondary school, the system don't care if they go to university, they'll go to college or go to sixth form, and they're ending up in prison or dead or walking up and down in a madhouse. And you've got your women that you're impregnating, and the doctors, the consultants, the nurses, the midwives that are not our skin color, don't understand about us, are killing ourselves and killing our babies. Why is it that 5% of black women are dying when we're only 3% of this population in this country, and black men are not blinking an eyelid? It's really ridiculous how you can be defensive with words. You're supposed to look around and research. If you don't hear it, if you don't see it from the congregation or the network that you're around, you should research it and say, you know what, and come back and say, this is true. I saw on this, and this. But it's not like that with you and certain, not all black men, but certain black men. They get very defensive. That's all I got to say.
Sister Tashiki, I would say you're incorrect in your evaluation of the actual broadcast last week. Okay. Number one, I asked the Sister Betty to confirm a few facts which were factually incorrect. I tell you now, as I tell all my black people, when we have any black person coming on to any form of broadcast and spreading factual, or I should say, in facts which are untrue, salacious lies, I will be the first one to jump up and say, no, enough, enough. There was plenty what Sister Betty was saying last week, which was just so factually incorrect. And I repeat again, she was saying a collective of black men, not some. From some, she went to many. From many, she went to some. And I kept putting her on the spot. Which one are you referring to? You seem to speak to black men as a whole. Then you seem to speak as black men in the West are the wrong ones. And all black men in Nigeria apparently are saints. So it's like, well, where do we go from here?
But the thing is, in Africa, there's like a, you know, the whole ancient Egyptian respect the woman partner. That culture is very much in Africa. So obviously it is black men in black relationships in the West. And I think that you also need to understand that domestic abuse is taboo. No woman is going to say, I'm a victim of it. However, because we work in that field, Betty does, so do I, we see the figures, and the figures are very high. So that's why I think you're not aware of what a big problem it is. Also, with the internet, with the internet of hate speech, countless videos of black men insulting black women, that's also made it much bigger. So it's a problem in the West, in America, in the UK, and we see the effects of white supremacy. So it's actually it's a very, very big problem that isn't being discussed in the community. And, you know, it is happening in a lot of relationships in the UK. And I think that people need to discuss about it. People should not get defensive and feel offended, like it's like they're being, like all population of black men are being generalized. It's not. It's actually a big problem. That's why.
Sister Jarina, let me just introduce. Welcome, by the way. We just had you so formally welcome. What I would say before everyone moves on is I can only assume that maybe Sister Betty was ever so slightly frustrated, which is actually the purpose of today's show. And in her frustration, she might have said things that we don't necessarily we want to try to minimize, and that is she did maybe wanted to become very passionate and say some slightly name calling stuff, and we definitely don't want to do that. But what I would say is when people are frustrated, that's what they do. And because this week is about men and it's happening, I would like us to try to review about how we should react to that. And I think the sisters have given us a very clear concept when they're saying, this is Tashika, who was saying that even though a woman might be factually wrong here and there and so forth, it isn't about the facts and highlighting. It's more about there's an emotion being felt, and is the black man going to listen with care or not? And I think that's one of the step ones that we want to be addressing. Like, how are we as men listening to black women when they're frustrated, regardless of what it might be or how they do it?
You know what, Brother Raven, right? You know, like they, you know, an African proverb and stuff, right? Is that the first love of the little girls is the father, not in a vulgar way, in a romantic way, in the sense of that she recognizes the symbol of masculinity, right? And the first love of the boy is the mother. And as I said, not in a vulgar way, but in a way of recognizing femininity. And unfortunately, my brother, as what her sister Kushi was saying, that when you go to Egypt, Sudan, West Africa, etc., you'll see the statues, the proverbs, the idioms, and you'll see the black man and the black woman as one. But because of our great fall, is that sometimes our mothers are raising us on our own, right? And they do a tremendous job. It would be better if like the men in the family could help out as well. But what I've noticed as a black man, and seeing other black men, is that unfortunately the black woman has to play a very strong role, right? And when you're a child and you hear, you do something wrong, and your dad's not around, your mother has to be very strong, and that alpha femininity, which is understandable why she's doing it, what it does, it ripples in your mind, right? And when you get to a certain age, especially if you're not Pan-Africanized, is that whenever you meet a partner or meet a woman, and that is that incident comes out and it tells you this: I don't want to be faced with childhood memories. I don't want to interact with childhood memories. This is why a lot of black men, and that, unfortunately, they will go for like the non-African women, and it's a trick as well, because they believe that they're not going to receive that energy. And it's the same thing when it comes to the black woman as well. When she's young, there's certain things what her father would do where she doesn't want that to resonate in interaction with men as well as a partner. And this is what I'm saying, brother, is that this is what we're all dealing with when we interact with each other. It's, we don't want certain memories to trigger who we are. And that's why it's very difficult for us to interact with each other, whether we're conscious or not. I'm not disrespecting Brother Darren, he brought some great points and stuff, right? And as well as Sister Bay. What I recognize is that Brother Darren could be very innocent in how he acts, and Sister Betty. However, because of certain circumstances, we express ourselves, in this type of way, which is why, brother, as long as I'm on this panel, I'm always going to promote Garveyism, because the manuscript, brother, will help you to understand the science of the black man and black woman. I every day have to keep reading upon it, because sometimes I forget, and these things, man, like Sister Kushli, I'm very grateful that she can, bring this onto the panel, that when you go to Africa, the black man and the black woman, you won't find this in any other culture. So we can get back to that equilibrium of how we used to be before, but at the same time, and we need a template. And I believe, the black betterment, it can work. And also Garveyism, it's the solution, my brother. That's all I'd say.
Now, before anyone else jumps in, I would just say sometimes we have to get clarity on certain concepts and ideas. And sometimes when you're debating in a very public place, and you got the adrenaline pumping and ideas trying to come across, we look across certain truths and realities that are said. And one thing I like to establish, that at no point can we as a community support abuse. Like if men are abusing women, this has to be called out and stopped and corrected. And if women are abusing children, so forth, right? These kind of concepts we can't allow to happen. And we must always be on the side of righteousness in this community when it comes to dealing with it. So there is no shelter for a man who's abusive to women. And if anything, he needs to reform, and he needs to correct himself, and he needs to fix the damage that he has done. Now, of course, there's a history of why people might end up going a certain way, but they can't find salvation in our community by doing these acts, because our community cannot thrive if people are being abused. And one thing I would say is, and this is, I would say everyone is innocent in this regard. Everyone is innocent in this regard. Is that some people come with certain styles of speaking, and what we have is communication differences. And that's why trying to really have a certain way to present your argument might be more easier, because you might trigger certain people who have different understandings, different communication skills. And that's just an understanding I'm pushing out there. but by all you know, by I think are we seriously saying Africa is free of abuse from black women? No, and one thing is, regardless of where black women are being abused, the concept of women being abused has to stop. So whether it happens in Africa, Europe, UK, America, wherever it is, I recommend we stand united in making sure that there is no defense for it. I understand the concept of saying stuff that might not be true and stuff, right? But we are talking about the truth of those who have been abused, and that's the ones we want to correct. Does that make sense? But by all means, everyone can jump in and add what they want to say.
And can I just say, I know that some people compare, you know, Africa and the Western world, and saying that, you know, abuse doesn't abuse obviously happens in Africa. Like, they can't believe that Africa, you know, has a positive image of black love, which it clearly does. Majority of black people in Africa marry black women. They marry each other. There isn't this negative Western backed propaganda that we see in the West of a black man being paired up with a white woman, you know, which is very, very destructive in our communities. So what I want to say is, of course, there are, you know, problems in Africa, like there is abuse, but they are changing. However, a black woman in Africa has she has like a wider kin support system, whereas in the West, black women don't have that social support system. Black women are judged in the West. They're stereotyped. They're an oppressive white supremacist society that wants to break up black families. So it may not affect black men here, because black men are put on a pedestal as this you know, this ideal of tall, dark, and handsome. So they're purposely put on a pedestal so they can be not very nice to black women. And unfortunately, subconsciously, that's what they are. And it's a problem. It is a problem. And I just think more black people need to be aware of the social situation of what's happening in the West, America, Europe. There is an attack on black families, and that's a fact. So yeah, that needs to be stressed.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to quickly say something here, because there's been a lot of ways I just don't want to forget more. For me, I think this is exactly something that Brother Raven mentioned before, where because someone's offended, we get stuck on the offence and not on the actual topic. This happened last time. At no point are we hearing from the brothers, especially Brother Darren, who is offended, on the best way to react. I'm just hearing why he's offended and reacting towards it in a way that I don't think is best. She's obviously come off and she's felt frustrated about that. I think we need to be mindful about being condescending when we're saying you're so cool, man, or maybe I'm just around the real ones. Things like that don't help either. I also want to say that there was a point where a man being kind of stoic and quiet and calm was kind of the basis of how we had a black man, and it was expected for a woman to be emotional. Now, however that emotion transpires, it's not for, in my opinion, for the black man to match that. And I think that's the best way to move forward. I think that if, and I'm not saying all black men, because I have had examples, as what Cal has mentioned, of a dad who was very loving, but would not match that kind of energy if he saw it. You know, it was a thing that when a black man raised his voice or he had to get like that, it was rare, and and because it was so rare, it made the presence, because now you've gone too far. And I think the bickering and the back and forth, for example, last week was the actual subject was, are women, it was on the borderline of, are women respected in black forums, and, you know, do they feel comfortable in jumping in? And it was a priority to hear from the women's voice. And as soon as we heard from a woman's voice, that's when it got a bit messy. And that's when you have women who will either react bad or women who just won't bother. And that's the problem, because then we're not going to the solution. Now, we have had great leaders, both living and dead, who have said that there is an issue within our community as black men, who have highlighted that they recognize there is a problem, with how black women are getting treated. So for that to even be a discussion is crazy. That doesn't mean that you personally or any person on the panel personally is doing it. But we can highlight that there is an issue with that. And once we can highlight that without putting our emotions in or make it personal or saying what I as an individual could do, because I could react to hearing, oh, maybe I'm just running real ones and read out my credentials, but I don't need to, because I'm secure in knowing what I am. And I'm respecting the forum that I'm on, and I would like to get to the stage of actually solving it. I think we should look at the question when we get frustrated, take a breath, and then start reacting to the question and moving forward. Because one thing that Raven said that really did hit me, and it is so true, and I've seen it again today, is that we are focusing on the issue instead of the bigger picture. Me highlighting what I saw from my own eyes in Egypt is not way saying that everybody in Africa and everywhere in Africa treats women great. It's showing me that symbolically our ancestors made it a point to say that there is no me without her. There is no me without him. We rise as a dynasty, a legacy together. And somewhere you cannot say that we've not lost that.
But the fact being there, sister, how you and the other sisters have spoken today and tonight, that's not how Sister Betty was speaking last week. As I mentioned, she took affront to what I had said, rather than put it in a political way back to me that, well, actually, I'm not happy with what you said on this and on that. Like I said, she decided to take personal issue with it, to the point it was even very rude. And you already heard that continue tonight with her dissatisfaction. Once again, I could have bitten back. I didn't.
Okay, so can I just say on that, this is exactly what the topic is, right? You're saying that she reacted. How should black men react to the words of frustrated black women, right? So she reacted to that. Now you can say that you didn't fight back, but every woman who has heard it and has come on here has had a different reaction and said that you did go personal. Betty highlighted different points where you went personal. So now we've got a new issue saying, how should black men react to the words of frustrated black women? So what is the best way to react to that? When you hear, as a woman, and this is the other thing as well, is because you'll hear a lot of certain black men say, she's too aggressive, she's talking to me like a man. So if that's the case, shouldn't men, in my opinion, shouldn't be talking to women aggressive like they'd be talking to a man. They should adapt the way they speak to a woman. The strength is when you're trying to remain calm, when you're trying to uphold code, and you don't feel like you're receiving that back. You're constantly highlighted. We receive that. We hear that. You said it over and over again. You do not like the way she reacted to you. But how do you react in that scenario as a black man to a frustrated black woman?
As a frustrated black woman, what you hear and what a black man should hear is then giving back facts, truth. There should be no one on this planet where you should allow them to be speaking untruthful. No one.
Brother Darren, once you've established that maybe a sister in a frustration is inaccurate in how she tells you some information that she came by, what is the best way to correct it, do you feel?
The correct way to do it is to advise of what the truths are, ask for further clarification, as I did, and I have, and then have a happy discourse from there.
What I would say, Brother Darren, and this is why I was trying to show the history of men, discussion topics with men. A lot of topics are not hard-hitting for men, And for some women, it becomes hard-hitting for women. The only time I might see hard-hitting topics for men is if you might have, you see, let's just bring up the topic of, say, rape, for example, a very hard-hitting topic that most men can't relate to until some men go to jail, and then they become emotionally connected to that topic, right? And we've seen that in some debates of the past and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is, there are some situations where when a person is speaking, it might not happen direct to them, but it's connected, or they understand the realities of it much more deeply, that they might say things based upon that. And I would push forward that even though their corrections their facts might not be 100% there, we want to go with it. I mean, there's been some histories where some people might speak about the facts and figures. I've seen this myself with other communities, where they speak about the facts and figures of how many people were murdered, say in the Black Holocaust and stuff, right? And maybe they might add way more than it was. But you know, when you correct that person, first of all, is it necessary to correct them, because we understand pain is being dealt. But second is, you know, the emphasis isn't the numbers, it's more so the pain. And I think sometimes in some situations, the pain prioritizes the actual facts, the rounded truth in some situations. And trying to make the speaker be aware of that in a kind, considerate way is the challenge we're trying to tackle tonight.
Well, I think everyone's forgetting that one point I put to the sister when she was speaking with such passion. I put it to her, I felt that maybe she was or has been abused. I apologized on behalf of us as men.
Brother, let me just jump in. One thing, just from what I've learned from the past, and the sister who's not here anymore might have done it herself back and forth. Those kind of suggestions, as kind-willed as they might be, they are best left to the person who's had the experience to push forward.
Very offensive, very offensive to insinuate, and because a lot of white people use that as well. A lot of mixed race people, they use that against Black women. Oh, what happened in your life? Like, it's weaponized on Black women. So for her to be triggered and upset is something that's, this is what they say to Black women. So, we can't have a discussion without it being personal. So I would not advise to question something as personal as that. You're just destroying the debate.
Can I just, I was just wondering, maybe if someone could clarify it with me. I was just, what is it with this mixed race and these types of all due respect to the sister, I've been hearing it lately, mixed race and all these things, and
against Black women.
The mixed race, I don't like to use that word because there's no such thing as mixed race.
Oh, there definitely is. There are fully Black people, and there are people that are half something and half something else. There are, and this is another problem in the UK.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Arabs are classed as mixed race as well when you look on the clarification.
But would you agree with me that when you have a different tribe, right, from another tribe, would you say that's mixed race as well?
If they're the same race, if they're Black, that's not mixed race. That's more, what's the word? Tribe. It's not. What we have in the UK is, well, you can see why Black women feel inferior. Just look at social media. Who gets to speak on behalf of Black people, mixed race people? That's a problem. In Africa, mixed race people will never be included as Africans. They will always be excluded. However, in the West, people include mixed race people as the Black population, and that's wrong.
One thing I would say, Fran,
yeah, go on.
No, let me say, then you can jump. This is because this topic is something because obviously there's a strew of topics that's causing challenges at the moment, and obviously the Black man and Black woman interaction is one of them that we're going to cover for a certain week. But we are definitely going to go into miscegenation and these kind of stuff. And remember, a lot of this stuff when we talk, it really is we are dealing with the reaction to realities, right? So right now, the concept of defining someone for a European parent and one African parent and so forth, historically at certain points might have not been a challenge. But when you have a group that's been so marginalized and so hurt, then everything is then put under a microscope. So, for example, if the traditional Black Aboriginal woman isn't represented, isn't allowed to speak, isn't seen as a status of beauty, the Black men are not fighting for her, then everything becomes intense. So when you have a person who has a European parent speaking on behalf, historically that would be fine. But because of these collective truths, it becomes heavy hitting from my observation. And that's why today we're having this kind of movement of having clear distinctions between white, mixed race, Black and stuff. Well, before it was, well, there's an issue where we have white supremacy and being identified as African ancestry, you're going to be mistreated. So we're going to work together for solutions. Now, the kind of buffer classism that was at some point in history might be coming up again in certain platforms. Because of that, distinctions are being made to protect people from certain harm. And it's an issue we have to tackle. And there's a way where we can have everyone's a winner solutions. But that's what, Brother Cal, that's what for my observation, what's going on. And it is definitely a topic we will be covering. But carry on.
No, because I was going to say, Brother Raven, is that, you know, this is well documented in that if you have a different tribe, you won't class as pure. This is in Africa. This is in Arabia. This is in the whole thing. That was what it was back then. You know, you could be the same. I'll give you an example. There is a black Arab, and his name's Bilal. He's well known in the Islamic world, right?
Yeah.
And he was the companion of the Prophet Muhammad, you know. And this man was very dark skinned, right? And very, you know, beautiful man. At the same time, his mother was an Ethiopian queen, right? Beautiful, beautiful Ethiopian queen, Black. And his father was a Black Yemeni, right? However, these are different tribes, and he was never, ever, 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 ever classed as, you know, mixed race, even though he had two different tribes.
Yes.
Although he was called names because he was not from an original Arab tribe. But what I find very interesting is that when it's like a European or something, we'll use these names, but, you know, you'll find as what people call mixed race color, you'll find that amongst the Blacks who don't have like a European mother and stuff like that.
I hear you.
Our one of our revolutionary leaders, Frederick Douglass, you know, he was biracial and he was called the N-word every single time. When you read his biography, there was not one word without the N-word in there. So that's why I'm just a bit confused,
brother,
you know, in regards to, you know, this.
What we got to understand
is,
let me, because I've got a bit of an understanding. Obviously, the sisters can jump in because once again, it's about how sisters feel what we're going to try to tackle. And from my research, what you're dealing with is times changing and people becoming further marginalized, right? And these things would not have been so. I mean, I think I've mentioned before, right? Historically, what would happen was, let's use it in this term. I know it's very very old school, but if you go back to the times of slavery, those times, let's just break it down that Black people were the good guys and the Europeans were the bad guys. Let's just break it down that simple, right? The bad guys would rape the good guys, and then what will happen is there'll be offspring there. Now the actual bad guys wouldn't claim any of us because they're bad people, while the good guys would. They go, look, you're put in the same position as us. You know, you're from us, even though you've had this unprecedented circumstance you've gone through. We're going to work together. This, in certain situations, was the case, so everyone was in the same boat. As time's gone by, when you're looking under white supremacy, you have whoever is closest to Europeanness will always get more preferable treatment, right? So if you have identified one European parent, then you have access to more privilege than someone who doesn't. So there's already some favoritism. And also, if your phenotype, whether you have that European parent or it doesn't, is close to what the Europeans are deeming as beautiful, then obviously there's a problem. Now, if you're doing documentaries about Africans and history, and you're never inviting the traditional Aboriginal look, and you're always inviting, you know, different aesthetic looks, whatever it might be here and there, then after time, that all in the same boat becomes very compromised. And then there is a massive disagreement, and then new definitions are brought forward. I'm saying that this is what we're seeing, and there are solutions to this. But the actual solution to this is actually highlighting Aboriginal Black traditional women and giving them more of a platform, so that this is no longer a speaking topic. You see,
But
because
brother,
go ahead.
sorry, bro.
No,
No, go on, bro.
No,
But brother Raven, don't you think that that's our fault? That's our fault.
When you say Alpha,
When
you say Alpha, do you mean black men?
No, the black people. That's our
Yeah,
fault.
oh yeah, of course. Well, the thing is, brother, when
Yeah.
when I talk about black Batman, I'm talking about
Yeah.
black people helping black people on black issues in every area of activity. So if black people were inward looking in their solutions, when we're going to have children who's going to specialize in media, they're going to make black content. Those black content is only going to hire black people. They're only going to show documentaries and stuff that doesn't have tropes of white savior, magic Negroes, and these kind of things, whatever. And what's going to happen is you're going to create a foundation where the other people are not defining for you. It's like if you have a non-black person trying to represent black people, you're always going to have it that what is in most favor and most pleasurable to the non-black person. And what's happening is all our media and direction has been dictated. But also one thing that we have fell for, and this is something that I'm trying to correct with you, brother, is some of our men haven't been educated correctly and have been led astray. So they are openly making testimonies against traditional Aboriginal black women. And because of this, the black women are reacting. You see, so while people like myself are always going to push that concept forward, and black women come first, and they're going to always have equal speak and so forth, other black men might take pride in actually telling the world how much they dislike black women, and this is what we have to fix as men. Like, it's not for the women to fix us. Go ahead.
But brother Raven,
yes.
As I said to you already, my brother, wasn't the Honorable Marcus Garvey laid down the blueprint? You know. You got to understand this, brother. I don't have a European mum or dad. My wife is not mixed race at all.
Okay.
You know, I don't like using it. But what I've noticed, brother, you know, is that you control the narrative. Do you understand? Now, unfortunately, the black man and the black woman are blamed to this. But what I've noticed with the black boys is that, and we have to take responsibilities to black men, but everything they've learned, to disrespect black women.
Yes.
They're taught by the black woman, unfortunately. It's the black woman. And I'm not attacking black women. I'm saying this, it's not her fault. But it's the black woman that teaches the black man to hate black women, to love blonde hair, to don't like our beautiful broad nose, which without it, you won't be able to breathe properly. And that this is why Napoleon blew it off. You know, this is what you got to understand.
Say something. I think that's untrue. What the problem is that black people don't have a system where with schooling. So the first thing when they start school is, what do they see? A white woman. When they go to secondary school, they see a white woman. A lot of teachers black teachers are not in the schools. So when our children, especially our boys, go to school, all they're gonna see is white women. They're in school where they're programmed where, because we don't have a system where we can homeschool them properly and stuff, we have to send them to school, and that's what they see is a white person. So sometimes necessarily it's not the mom's fault. Sometimes it's how they're programmed when they go to school, because they're majority of the time they're at school.
System, brother.
Can I just say something, please?
Of course, you must. Go ahead.
Brother Cal, I agree with you on most things, but that statement I do not agree with when saying that it's the black woman's fault. But I do also want to highlight as well that could be gaslighting as well. And when we are on that topic, we should really delve in and discuss about it, because I don't know you from Adam, but I've heard you and you can engage in like conversations and not agree and not get condescending or aggressive or anything like that. But I think again we're on that we might be going away. And I have a dog in this fight because I have not mentioned anyone from mixed heritage or anything on there. But again, we are going away from the point of what this problem is. And I think this is what constantly happens, because this is a really good question. It stems from what I said should be a case study of what happened last week. And I really would like us to stay focused on this actual topic. And when that topic comes in regards to mixed heritage or dual heritage or mixed race, whatever way you want to say it, then we can discuss that openly. And I think that there is a space to do it, because I definitely don't agree with that statement. But I would love for us to be able to stick on this topic now.
Very true, sister.
I appreciate the reminder, Sister Kusha. I appreciate that.
And that's why we're here to keep each other, hold each other down. And that is true. And we will tackle that topic. But in regards to this particular topic, the frustration, it's something we're going to further expand to next week. Because we started slightly late, we might have maybe 10 more minutes left in this, 10 to 15 minutes left in this one. But what I would say is hopefully there's a learning from this week. And I would like to say thank you to Brother Darren for coming in and expressing himself. And also not necessarily reacting in a way, more so with words he was said, that could have, further back and forth. And one thing that hopefully we can end on this and speak on this as we walk out. What I'm trying to push forward is listen more to the pain of what Black women are saying and the frustration in the pain, whatever, rather than the actual facts. And I think that when men debate, we are very logical facts, and women are also logical and fact also. But there's certain things that highlights those truths. Sorry, bro. Did someone say? I don't know if that was a feedback. But let me just end by saying this. Sometimes by personal experience, not necessarily directly to themselves, but just by identifying, by being of the same gender and seeing similar family, people going through certain things, the information might come out in a way that might be exaggerated or just misunderstood. And I think that we should go more for the pain than the truth in that situation. But of course, brother, you can speak.
Brother, if I may say, that respect has to be a two-way street. When we have babies, it's two people that made the baby, a man and a woman. You both know that responsibilities are. You both know what the circumstances can be from that bonding of a man and woman. So it has to be a two-way street. On top of that, you think to yourself, well, are we trying to now give two different tiers? One for women, one for men. Well,
yes, that's what it's supposed to be. One for woman, one for man. A man can't do what a woman can do, and a woman can't do what a man can do. Once both of us do the same thing, it clashes. There is no yin and yang. It's both the same. That don't make no sense.
But this is it, Sister Tashika. We have a bit of disingenuous when we speak about this. One time we're talking about, oh, women can do what men can do, and it's like,
no, it shouldn't be. I get sick and tired of carrying men's problems on my flipping back. I want to be a woman. I want to do my nails, do my feet, do my hair, go out when I want to, and be a woman. I don't want to have to uplift my children, do everything, because a black man is so scared to say anything because they're going to get locked up. I want to feel free. I want to be feminine. I don't want to have masculine traits where I have to be on guard every time. That's not what black women want to do. Black women are tired mentally and physically. Black men are supposed to be uplifting and taking the stress of black women, not arguing with us. We're tired of arguing with you lot.
Excuse my language there, sister. You're bloody right. Thank you. Thank you so much. You are women. I'm sorry, I don't care if anybody thinks I'm being too chauvinistic here. I want you to do those things what make you feel pretty, make you feel dainty. Be feminine. That's what you are. As men, we're supposed to be manly, stepping up. Anybody comes to your door with trouble, no matter who it is, you step up.
But the thing is that on this panel, you've not heard anyone say that they want to be a man. The strong black woman is the myth. So what you just said there is an external thing you bring into this grouping of the panel. And this is what I'm saying about this Western mentality. That's more of the white woman saying she wants to be liberal and burn the bra and I can do it strong as a man and everything else. You've not heard that on here. You've heard that women want to be women, and our perception of a woman is that if I'm talking to you, brother, I might get emotional. Don't match that energy. No one's saying that they want to be boxing down a man.
Sister, she might have disconnected. When she comes back, she can be added. But just to sentiment, yeah, and I think this is one thing we want to establish. And to your question, brother Darren, I do think that there are, historically and today, it might be more beneficial for Black people if Black women were treated from Black men. And there are some privileges that Black women get and some privileges that Black men get. And I think that when we try to exchange that, the confusion comes in. And biologically and socially and emotionally, we might not be equipped for some of the roles that we're trying to push forward people to do. And that's what I'm seeing. And that's why we sometimes get some confusion in some of the areas. But obviously, everyone has their own opinion. But that's just what I'm pushing forward.
No, you're absolutely right. And this is the problem, you see, that strong, independent Black woman, what is being pushed out there, this so-called feminism from the suffragettes. May I add that feminism from the suffragettes, yes, that wasn't for Black people. They saw how Black people were rising. So even when they tried to push it on Black women, when the Black women who was in the know said, nah, you keep that feminism nonsense. I rock with the brothers. We rise as a people. And this is what gets us very, very twisted when we want to talk about feminism. Well, what happened to Black empowerment? Surely if I rise, you rise.
Yeah, I and also understanding terminology and stuff. One thing I was trying to make clear, because there's terminology and there's political parties based on terminology, right? And I think that when it comes to the concept of what feminism historically was meant to mean, I would say that from a standpoint, feminism is making sure that women are not mistreated. Let me add Sister Kushti, and making sure that within the areas there is equality, so there's choice that women can make, and they're not dictated to by everyone else apart from themselves. That's one thing that I think that many of us can agree with. We don't want to dictate and bully and limit women, but we also recognize there are certain biological realities where it's probably best if men handle this and women handle that, unless they want to create their own templates and do something else. But generally, there's things that we know try and test work. So let's just keep it there. But Sister Kushi, you were saying something, you were cut off, but you're back now. Do you want to quickly say what?
Yeah. Do you remember what the last point was? What I was saying before I got cut off?
I believe you were saying that something about to do with men and women feminism, not necessarily feminism. We can't do the kind of same. It was right about that kind of.
Yeah, I just believe. Yeah, like we're not the same, and I don't see anybody on here who said anything along them lines. And I think that we need to be careful about not gaslighting and really listening to what got said. For example, places in where we are actually originated from, so like Africa, it's not unusual to see entrepreneurialism, as got mentioned last time, within the women. Women had there was women who were equally chiefs, equally you'd go for council, things like that. In the West, women were still fighting for voting and things like that. So when we're talking about when the sister said quite rightly that she doesn't want that associated with her, that's kind of been the thoughts of many of the women on here. So it's just like, it's things like that where we're just saying you need to listen more to what is actually getting said on here. And that's why I just wanted to leave it on the response of Brother Darren.
Thanks, sister.
I think you might have missed when I agreed with Sister Tashika, was it? Yeah, I think you might have missed that when you dropped off there, sis.
Right. Well, guys, we started slightly late, but we're going to have to start wrapping up now. But next week will be of a similar nature. So hopefully I won't make the forum private so people can join straight away. And I appreciate everyone. Hopefully Sister Betty will tune in next time. I would like to think that the thing is, we don't understand people's, what they might go through, not go through, how they interpret certain things. So we always want to be on our awareness. We want to react to how people react if possible, and we also understand where there is different personalities, and sometimes we're going to get direct personality differences where it's hard to make a connection because people come from a completely different place. But I thank everyone who's tried to stay as control as they could, and these topics will become much more harder to control, I guess, in the future, because we will be tackling obviously black male, black female dynamic, but we will be moving into the whole European parents and this kind of stuff and that kind of stuff like that. So let us all leave on our final thoughts, and then we can say goodbye. So can we actually have the women go first now, because obviously last week they went last. So if any of the women would like to have their final thoughts now, that'd be great.
I'd like to say that for this, I just want to say to the brothers on the panel is that when women are expressing themselves, not to take it too literal and bring their emotions to the forefront. Just listen and feel the words that they're saying to you. It's not necessarily, like Raven said, it's true, but just listen and take it on board. Because if a black woman and a black man start to agree, it'd be a better place for us. Then that's the first point of call before anything else can be done, is that we need to get along as black women and black men. And then if we do that, then our children will replicate that, and it should, in time, will get better. But for now, if we keep arguing and scrapping, you're going to see all these other races just looking at us and laughing. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sister, and hopefully you'll join next week.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to say that there is something that I'd like to remind the brothers, that there is something about being stowed and maintaining calmness and the level of effectiveness, that when it is time to speak up and time to battle, the effect that has, rather than hearing it constantly. For example, if my partner has heard me say over and over again to my son something, and he feels, okay, enough's enough, and then when he speaks, even I just be like, oh. And I think that is effective to women. I think if you're saying a point that is a good point, it can get lost in the argument in the way it's been delivered. And that when you're speaking to a woman, you're speaking to a woman, and when you're speaking to a man, you're speaking to a man. And it'd be good if the level of the way you communicate differs between those two. And to remember that although the stereotype is bad on a black man, there is plenty of black women who know of good men around them, who love their brothers, and they only probably have this passion, or what can seem as hurt or anger, because of the love and because of the need to want to see things to be better. And maybe that's the best way that they can show it. It's not saying that it's not right, and it's not saying that women don't have things to fix on as well, or articulate better. Women can have a wicked mouth, women can switch, but at the same time, if the topic is about man looking within himself, there's nothing more better than that. There's nothing more attractive than that. There's nothing more stronger than that. And I just would like to leave that with the brothers.
Thank you, sister. Now I have brother Cal. Could you give us your final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything what the sisters were saying. We have to learn the science of the black man and the black woman, including myself. We have to get back to that. Understand the science of the black man and the black woman. That's all I have to say. It's a great show.
Thank you, bro. And last but by no means least, brother Darren.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, respect is a two-way street. Regardless of how one feels, that respect should still be there. You should express yourself in as best a possible way wherever possible. Be mindful others are listening, and how you think you may come across, well, the whole world will hear something else.
Thank you, brother. And I'd like to say thank you to the panel. Also, thank you to Brother Dan for coming on and expressing himself. And hopefully, Sister Betty isn't too offended. And hopefully, she will join again. And hopefully, we'll find better ways to communicate because that's the goal. See you guys next week, and you'll see in the in WhatsApp or the forums you might be in. But have a good one, and that's this week's show. Thanks a lot, family. Have a good one.